everybody, Chef McPhee here. Today I'll be showing you guys how to cook an onion with chia. I know it doesn't sound very exciting, but as you'll see there'll be a lot to learn. We'll give you some really good info and we'll create an amazing dish that you can use in so many different ways. A couple really neat things about the onion. Mankind has been eating onions since, well, forever. How to prepare an onion. Think of the onion as a miniature Earth. So like the Earth, it's round. We have a North Pole and a South Pole, and through the middle is the equator. When you're slicing an onion, initially, we never want to cut the onion through the equator. We want to focus instead on the polar ice caps. So, for starters, we're going to slice off each ice cap. So the first thing we'll do is slice off the ice caps. We'll start with the North Pole. Switch to the South Pole. And then the next stage, the next step, remember I said we don't want to cut it through the equator. We want to avoid cutting the equator. We want to go straight down the middle, like so. So the next thing we'll do is a lesson in dicing an onion. This is a very, very simple thing to do. What you'll want to do is find where the bottom of the onion is, so the root part of the onion, which is here, and you can tell because there's you can see where the root system came out of the onion. So what we want to do is keep that part away from you, and instead we'll slice with the top of the onion facing us. And what we'll do now is simply slice the onion like so, starting on the one side. And what I'm going to do with my knife is I'm going to follow the curve of the onion. So as I make my slices, I'll have my onion or my knife angled out this way and then around through this way. So it'll look like so. Obviously fingers bent, we don't want to have them splayed out like so, because then I could cut the tip off my finger, and believe me, that does not feel good and it's really messy. So here we go. You'll notice that I'm not slicing all the way through to the other side of the onion. Doing this so that it can, sort of stay together as one piece. If you have a few odds and ends coming out like so, doesn't really matter. Then stem side over here, the side where it's held together nearest my hand, side where the slices are open and available on the knife side like so, and dicing it up like so. When I get to the end here, it's a bit tricky. What I like to do is I flop the end bit that's remaining over like so, and then just make a few slices, chop the bits off, and then just rough slice the rest of it like so. When you're cooking with onions, they don't need to be perfectly uniform. Each little square doesn't have to be exactly the same size as the other ones. They're going to get cooked, and in the end, really the difference does not matter. So don't waste your time trying to make perfect little squares. Just get through it and move along. The other way I'm going to show you, and this is what I like to do if I'm going to be making a dish like we're making today, where I'm just cooking the onions, and the onions are going to be a large part of the end result. So I want, instead of little cubes like this, I'd like to have onion strings. And the way that we'll do this is pretty much the same step as the other one for the first part, except I'll be slicing all the way through the onion. So same thing, I'll have my knife on a bit of an angle as I follow the curve of the onion, and it'll look like this. Somewhat trying to keep the slices thin. You'll see I got some thicker ones here, but that's not really going to matter. When onion cooks, it reduces size by quite a long bit. When I get to this stage in the game where there isn't much onion to brace against or to hold on to, I like to do the same thing. I flop it over like so, and then I just run my knife through the rest of it, and that's done quite easily. So there we have it. We have onion strings and diced onion cubes. Now let's get started on frying that up. So we have a nice hot pan. We'll add the onions to the pan, get them going. Now what we're looking to do here is caramelize the onions. Onions are actually have quite a high content of sugar, and it's the sugars in the onions that cause the caramelization. So what we'll do is we'll keep this going for quite a while, stir it every once in a while, and as you'll notice, we'll have the onions will begin to caramelize and become more and more delicious as time goes on. So as you can see, the onions are starting to brown now, and the onions are at the stage where they've been sweated. So what's happened is they're becoming translucent, the moisture's starting to come out of the onions, and when you see recipes where it mentions that you need to sweat the onions, then this is the stage that you want to get to. And obviously, depending on the dish you're cooking, if I was going to make a white cream sauce, then I wouldn't want to have brown bits of onion, because that would color the sauce a undesirable color. So I would use a lesser high heat or a lower heat, and I wouldn't allow the onions to begin to caramelize if I were to be making a dish like that. But since our goal here today is to caramelize onions, we're gonna bring this process quite a long ways further along. The onions are becoming more and more brown, and at this stage I'll turn the stove down to a heat that's lower than medium. Not really low, but definitely below medium. And this will just make it easier to prevent actual burning of the onions and instead further caramelizing. At this stage we'll also need to be stirring the onions a little more frequently as well. You'll notice I've brought out 3 additional ingredients that we'll be using in this dish today. We have butter, and this is something that I'll put in near the end. And what the butter will do is it'll just really add a really nice flavor to the onions. Also, we'll be adding chia, obviously, and also with chia, that'll go near the end as well. With the chia, the less we cook it, the more nutrition it will maintain. So we're going to use that near the end. And also some white wine, much like the butter, will be used to contribute a really good flavor to the dish. Oh yeah, let's try this out. We're going to put some butter. So I'll add, this is a whole onion. I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter or so. Oh yeah. Smells good. I'll add a bit of white wine and really just a splash. Of course, some salt and pepper. reduce the heat to very low, and now we can add the chia as well. I'm adding about a tablespoon of chia. And the heat right off. There we have it. Caramelized onions with chia. Fantastic accompaniment to any type of dish. Put this in a sandwich, in a salad, you let it cool down, throw it in a salad, or put it in your pasta, whatever you're making that day, this can go with. What I'm going to do is try some of this with a little bit of chia bread, which I'll be showing you in a future video. Oh yeah, there we have it. So I'm gonna let that cool down just enough so that I don't burn the roof of my mouth, and it's gonna be a great snack.